take me anytime you like. I'll be around if you think you might. Love me, baby. And hold me tight. Your mood is like a circus wheel. You're changing all the time. Sometimes I can't help but feel that I'm wasting all of my time. Your mood is like a circus wheel. You're changing all the time. Sometimes I can't help but feel that I'm wasting all of my time. Think I'm looking on the dark side.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Nashville and Mathematics, Music to My Ears. This is AMATYC's 40th annual conference, and we are celebrating. We are celebrating the work that AMATYC members have done for the past 40 years and the work that we will continue to do in the future. Who would have guessed 40 years ago, when Herb Gross was elected AMATYC's first president at a meeting with 60 mathematics educators, that we would become what we are today? I'm Nan Sattler, and it has been my privilege and my honor to serve as your president for this past year. I have enjoyed the chance to meet so many AMATYC members as I have represented the organization across the country. One reason we get together every year at the AMATYC conference is because of the great and diverse program. But in addition to the fantastic program, people return to this conference to renew friendships with colleagues from around the country. If you are a first-time attendee, we would like to welcome you to AMATYC. Would all the first-time attendees please stand? I hope you will find it as great of an experience as I have, and that you will return again year after year, and next time bring a colleague or two along with you. I have not missed a conference since I began coming to AMATYC in 1991, and I have 3 colleagues from my school, in addition to my dean, present at the conference today. And if you want to stand just for a half a second, please do so. The economy is slowly getting stronger. However, many states and colleges still have tight budgets and have continued restricted on travel. Despite this, I am happy to report that we have attendance of 1,327. In addition to that, we have 160 guests, bringing the total to 1,487. I want to thank you for making the commitment to become even better educators and to continue your development as professionals. The real winners are the students that you have left back at your home institutions. On behalf of the AMATYC board, I'd like to extend a special thanks to you and to all the speakers and presiders. You are the ones that make our conference as great as it is. I would also like to thank our corporate sponsors, Hawks Learning and McGraw-Hill, for their great support of AMATYC and our conference this year. This conference could not have happened without the dedication and hard work of the local events committee and the AMATYC Conference Committee. Tim Britt was first appointed as the Nashville Local Arrangements Coordinator in 2011. Since then, he has worked on preparing for this conference with his Tennessee colleagues, along with Kevin Doctor, AMATYC Conference Coordinator, and his committee. On behalf of all the members of AMATYC, I would like to thank Tim and Kevin and their committees for their efforts. In addition, I'd like to thank all the affiliates and the AMATYC members in the Southeast region for their support in making this conference happen. Congratulations to all of you. Tim, please join me on the podium to welcome our attendees.
Thank you, Nancy. Howdy. I bring a great big Southern welcome to the Nashville and the AMATYC Conference. Thank you all for coming. It's good to see you all. First, I want to thank Vol State and Dr. Faulkner for helping us host and be the host school. Without them, we could not have done this. They've stored the supplies and all those kind of things. And thanks to AMATYC and Kevin Doctor, they've been support to our committee all along the way. The hospitality room is in Belmont C, so come by and see us there, play a few games, grab a quick snack, those kind of things, meet your friends. There is free internet access in those rooms. Last year, I went around and I think I told you how beautiful the hotel was going to be at Christmas time. So hopefully you have found that to be true. And I hope you enjoy that while you're here. Would the local committee please stand at this time? Everybody that's here from the local committee. I know they're scattered around everywhere. Here's some, there's some. If you have any questions while you're here, look for us in the bright blue shirts, and we'll try to direct you in the right way. Last but not least, a conference is not a conference without you all, so make it the very best conference that you can, and I hope you enjoy your stay here at the Gaylord. Thank you.
Dr. Jerry Faulkner, President of Volunteer State Community College, is also here this afternoon to welcome us. President Faulkner, please join me at the podium.
Thank you, Nancy. We appreciate you being here. Welcome to the warm and balmy South. Seriously, we do welcome AMATYC for its 40th annual conference to the great state of Tennessee. I join with the other 12 community colleges in Tennessee in welcoming you. We're glad you've chosen Nashville as the site of your 40th conference. Nashville has been proclaimed by the New York Times as the IT city, the new IT city. I don't know what it is, but it's an exciting place to be. Lots of exciting things happening in Nashville. I hope you have time while you're here to enjoy some parts of the city, and if not, that you'll come back and join us again at some point in the future. It's an exciting time to be in education. It's an exciting time to be with two-year colleges and community colleges. Who would have ever dreamed that 2 times the President of the United States would talk about community colleges in his State of the Union address? Yeah, that's good. That's worth an applause. We do have an insider in Dr. Jill Biden as a community college teacher who has the ear, I think, of the Vice President of the United States, so that doesn't hurt any. It's an exciting time to be in community college education in Tennessee. Within the past few weeks, 57,000, that's 94% of high school seniors, went online and completed an application for the Tennessee Promise. a last dollar scholarship that will allow them to attend community college for 2 years, tuition and mandatory fees free. Yes. Frankly, it's a little scary for us if all 57 of those show up in August. We're keeping our fingers crossed. Another exciting development that you'll hear about more in the future is starting this fall, every high school senior will be able to take 2 college-level dual enrollment courses for free in the state of Tennessee. So it's an exciting time. I know you have a wonderful program planned, lots of valuable workshops. I know you're going to return to your respective institutions energized and full of information and new ideas, and go back and teach math to those students that so desperately need it. Thank you again. Welcome to Tennessee.
Dr. Faulkner, on behalf of AMATYC, I would like to present to you this plaque for support of two-year college mathematics education.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We have a celebration, and we have been recognized by the governor of the state of Tennessee. I would like to read to you a letter that I received from him. Dear friends, on behalf of the great state of Tennessee, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the American Mathematical Association of Two-Year Colleges, AMATYC, 40th Annual Conference. We are proud to have you here, and we hope this time allows you to network with friends, colleagues, and educational professionals. I also want to take this opportunity to thank the AMATYC for promoting and increasing awareness of the contributions of two-year colleges in mathematics education. I commend you for your dedication to this cause and recognize the vital role that mathematics plays in business and industry. I certainly hope you have an exciting and enriching event, and encourage you to take the time to enjoy Nashville and all it has to offer while you are in town. Again, welcome to Tennessee. Chrissy and I send our very best wishes to you and your families, and hope your future endeavors are filled with joy and success. Warmest regards, Bill Haslam. I also have another letter that I would like to read to each of you from the President of the United States. The White House, Washington, October 15th, 2014. I am pleased to join in celebrating your 40th anniversary. In America, history is not only made by presidents and generals. Change often comes when caring and engaged individuals join together to build a brighter, stronger future for themselves and for the generations to come. For years, you have carried forward a proud tradition. By daring to imagine the world as it could be and working tirelessly to realize that vision, you are helping America reach a better tomorrow. Congratulations on your anniversary. As you reflect on your years of service to your community, I hope you take pride in what you have achieved. I wish you all the best for the years ahead. Barack Obama. Now we come to the part of the program where I, on behalf of AMATYC, recognize an exceptional AMATYC member. Cheryl Cleves, will you please come forward? Cheryl has been a part of AMATYC for as long as I can remember. When I checked the AMATYC history, I found that she was secretary of the organization in 1985, as well as co-chairperson for the annual conference held in Memphis that year. She was secretary again in 1987 and was appointed the first conference coordinator in 1988. At the first conference that I attended in 1991 in Seattle, Cheryl received a presidential award. And in 1996, Cheryl received another presidential award. She has been very active in the organization over the years. She has assisted in the writing of AMATYC's signature document, Standards for Curriculum and Pedagogical Reform in Two-Year College and Lower Division Mathematics, and joined other AMATYC members in an 18-month strategic planning initiative funding by the Exxon Education Foundation, which resulted in AMATYC's first strategic plan for 2000-2005. She was part of an ad hoc committee that created an endowment plan for Project Access, which is beginning its 11th cohort at this conference. Cheryl attended the 8th International Congress on Mathematics Education in Seville, Spain, joining 6 other AMATYC members, including our newly appointed Executive Director, Wanda Gardner. When the AMATYC National Office opened at State Technical Institute at Memphis in Tennessee on September 1st, 1993, Cheryl was appointed Executive Assistant to the AMATYC Board. Her title later changed to Executive Director of Office Operations and then to Interim Executive Director. This summer, the board changed her title one last time to Executive Director Emerita. It is an extreme honor for me to present Cheryl with yet another presidential award. Please join me in thanking Cheryl Cleves for her extraordinary service to AMATYC. I would like to read the plaque. The American Mathematical Association of Two-Year Colleges Presidential Award to Cheryl S. Cleves, Executive Director of Office Operations, Executive Director Emeritus, for outstanding contributions and extreme dedicated service to the two-year college mathematics education and to AMATYC, November 2014. I would like to introduce you to our new executive director who began working for us on July 1 of this year, Wanda Gardner. Wanda is no stranger to AMATYC, having served as president of our organization from 1995 to 1997. She has served as AMATYC's program coordinator from 2001 to 2012 and has attended AMATYC conferences for the past 33 years. She credits Cheryl Cleaves as one of the reasons she became involved in our organization. Please join me in a round of applause for Wanda Gardner. I got a little behind there with my slide, didn't I? I would like to talk about the Student Math League. This afternoon, it's my pleasure to announce the top national individual scorers and the winning team for this year's AMATYC Students Mathematics League. Saturday morning, we will recognize the top winner with the Charles D. Miller Scholarship and the winner of the Glenn Smith Team Award. Other plaques will be distributed tomorrow at the regional meetings. Michael Hirsch from Pearson will present the plaque to the winning team on Saturday at the AMATYC breakfast. Special thanks to all of you who moderate Student Mathematics League teams. The top 5 national individual scorers of the Student Mathematics League are number 1, Irving Sutana, De Anza College, California. Number 2, Minvu, Los Angeles City College, California. Number 3, Jeffrey Zhang, Indian River State College, Florida. Number 4, Patrick Dong, Mission College, California. And the 5th place, the top female scorer, Young Hee Che, Irvine Valley College, California. The winning college is Los Angeles City College, California. Join me in a round of applause for these outstanding students. Our keynote speaker today is Zelman Yusiskin. I first met Zal in Seoul, Korea, when I attended the 12th International Congress on Mathematics Education. Zal is a leader in his field and well respected internationally. He is Professor Emeritus of Education at the University of Chicago and Director of the University of Chicago School Mathematics Project. His research has focused on the teaching and learning of arithmetic, algebra, and geometry, and particular attention to applications of mathematics and the use of transformations and related concepts. Zal has served on the boards of many professional organizations, including NCTM and the Mathematical Science Education Board. As a member of MSCB, he helped pave the way for current reform efforts in mathematics education. He received a Distinguished Career Achievement Award from the National Council of Supervisors of Mathematics in 1994 and a Lifetime Achievement Award from NCTM in 2001. Earlier this year, NCTM published a volume containing 38 of his papers. Zal is especially interested in matters related to curriculum, instruction, testing, and educational policy, so it is no surprise that he is interested in cleaning up after the Common Core. Zal.
We have to connect here.
And this is where someone comes on stage and does a soft.
I think if you are sitting in what usually are the best seats for this, it may not be the best seats because you can't see the slides as well, but we'll work it out. It's an honor and a privilege to have been invited to give this keynote.
The motivation for my remarks, the Common Core State Standards in Mathematics, is one on which I could speak for hours. Here I've been given only 30 minutes, so I'll get right into it. Or since we're in Music City, you might say that I will begin the Opry with an overture. The standards movement in the U.S., which now touches all subjects in the K-12 curriculum, began in 1989 with the NCTM standards. AMATYC followed with Crossroads in Mathematics in 1995. I'm proud to have been on the advisory panel for that report. NCTM amplified its standards in 2000, AMATYC in 2006 with Beyond Crossroads. In June 2010, after well over a year of work of several committees, but only 22 days of public notice, the Common Core... You got the drift. The Common Core State Standards in Language Arts and Mathematics were announced. The Common Core in Mathematics includes standards for mathematical practice and standards for mathematical content. There are 8 standards for mathematical practice, and they're described in 3 pages in the original document. They're quite similar to the AMATYC standards for pedagogy. Following this are 76 pages in which are detailed 342 mathematical content standards meant for all students, by grade from kindergarten through grade 8, and by content category for high school. These content categories are, as you can see on this slide, number and quantity, algebra, functions, modeling, geometry, and statistics and probability. These content standards are in some places quite different from the AMATYC standards. Of the high school Common Core standards, 113 are meant for all students. There are 43 additional high school standards that, quote, students should learn in order to take advanced courses such as calculus, advanced statistics, or discrete mathematics. I assume that some of you have read these standards and are very familiar with them, while others have not. There's no time to give lots of examples, but I do wish to make some points, and having specifics helps. Here are the very first 2 standards in the number category at the high school level. This standard is representative of the standards dealing with arithmetic skills and understanding. The Common Core standards include every traditional arithmetic skill, and by high school, they assume all students have these skills. They're serious when they say that. Here's another pair of standards, this time from the algebra category. There are 5 standards that precede these, which is why these are numbered 6 and 7. The skills here again are traditional. Standard 6 means that all students are expected to be able to divide polynomials. All students. I think this is because they wanted justification for teaching long division in 4th grade. He said, well, you got to have long division because if you don't have long division, you can't divide polynomials. And everybody needs to divide polynomials. We know that. I mean, I just divided polynomials before lunch. It was really something. It also, number 6, exhibits one of the 5 places in the Common Core where computer algebra systems are mentioned. The plus sign in Standard 7 identifies those standards that are expected only of those who wish to take more advanced mathematics. At this point, any person has to ask, all students? The standards do break some new ground. The most evident is in the attention given to statistics from grade 6 on. 20% of the middle school standards and 16% of the high school standards are in statistics and probability. This slide shows 4 of the 25 high school standards. By the end of high school, students following a curriculum covering these standards will have had more than the equivalent of a semester course in statistics. A second new ground is in geometry, where 11 of the 43 high school standards deal with geometric transformations, including the 3 shown here. Now you may understand why I titled my presentation, Cleaning Up After the Common Core. There will be injured bodies in this movement, for it has forgotten the difference between goals and reality. It is the case that in many school districts, the Common Core provides a stronger background for most students than they've been getting. But even if you're teaching in one of the 7 states that have not endorsed the Common Core, you should care. The major publishers in the U.S. all publish national editions of their textbooks. Although they may modify those editions for some large states, they do so typically by modifying their national editions. And those states that have not adopted the Common Core have essentially done much the same thing. They may not follow all the standards of the Common Core, but they're aware of the national trend, so their set of standards is not that much different from the Common Core, even though their rhetoric may be to establish their states' rights. Furthermore, both the ACT and SAT have announced modifications to their college entrance examinations to follow the Common Core. Also, there is much in the rhetoric that is particularly relevant for 2-year colleges. Let's begin with the announced overriding purpose of the standards, which is to make students college and career ready. Here are 3 of the 9 occurrences of this phrase. The standards do provide clear signposts along the way to the goal of college and career readiness for all students. High school standards specify the math that all students should study in order to be college and career ready. And then it goes even before high school. Some of the highest priority comes from grade 8, 6 to 8. This announced purpose, is the same as a major purpose, if not the major purpose, of 2-year colleges. So what's going on here? Is the Common Core trying to put 2-year colleges out of existence? Of course not. But it's indisputable that the Common Core writers were trying to significantly reduce the amount of developmental or remedial mathematics that's being taught at 2-year colleges, or at the college level by any colleges. Thus, if successful, the course structure in math departments at 2-year colleges would be quite a bit more affected than those in 4-year colleges. But will this happen? Will there be less remediation? I think not. Your jobs are secure. My reasoning comes from 3 different directions: the content of the Common Core, the testing that's going on along with the Common Core, and the history of math education in the U.S. Let's go to the content. We've all heard the phrase "a mile wide, an inch deep" applied to the math curriculum of our schools. The idea of a core curriculum specified by grade level is to focus teaching in each grade so that the curriculum is less wide and more deep. And to the credit of the writers of the Common Core, there is in many places a rich and deep view of the mathematical concepts that are being discussed. But except for the very early grades, it seems that the amount of content in each grade set of standards will occupy a full school year. So the standards don't represent a core, but a full curriculum. Consequently, there is little time for review, so a student who falls behind has to work outside of class to catch up. In Japan, Singapore, Korea, and China, there is juku, or schools after school, for this purpose. We don't have that in the U.S. Despite a core that is much more than a full curriculum in places, I believe there are 7 serious broad content areas missing from the core, some of which are explicitly stated in the AMATYC standards as important mathematics before calculus. Quantitative literacy. The standards wrongly assume that by being fluent with computation and understanding basic uses of arithmetic operations, a student would automatically understand the numbers they see in print or hear on TV or use in everyday life. It's amazing that the metric system, with its connection to the decimal system, is not a more prominent part of the Common Core, though metric units are mentioned in some examples. This is a consequence of an archaic approach to decimals, in which there is ignorance of the fact that students see decimals everywhere, from money to measurement, yet the discussion of decimals is made dependent on fractions that are far more difficult and less in the world of students. There's almost no attention given to data before grade 6. The writers did not adopt the standards following the well-known and carefully written American Statistical Association guidelines for the assessment and instruction of statistics education, the GAES recommendations at these grades. And it was published 3 years before the Common Core. There's disregard for the discrete mathematics that's fundamental in computer science and business, even in the standards for students who will take advanced mathematics. The word infinite never appears in the Common Core. Amazing. Are we not to teach students that there are infinitely many integers? First graders can understand that there are infinitely many integers because they can see that if there's to be a largest number, there's one that's one larger. That was part of the curriculum of the PBS program 3-2-1 Contact a couple of decades ago. There's no discussion of infinite decimals, so what are students to learn about pi? What about the end behavior of functions? The only mention of limits is in connection with informal arguments about the areas and volumes of curved figures. The phrase infinitely many appears twice. Yes. Both times to describe how many solutions there are to inequalities. Deductive systems. There's nothing about mathematical systems in the Common Core. It's like teaching chemistry without the periodic table, or biology without the classification of living things, or history without a timeline. In high school, at least, students should see that mathematical truth rests on careful definitions of terms and deduction from commonly agreed upon postulates. Even if they don't do any proof, you should know that you're working in a system. And last but certainly not least, mathematics for trades and other careers not requiring a bachelor's degree. This is career mathematics, is missing because the committee wrongly felt that the best mathematics for everyone, and this includes students whose graduation from high school is not secure, that the best math for everyone is the math that a student taking calculus or statistics needs to know. You may wonder, if the Common Core is dedicated to preparing students for calculus, then why is there no mention of infinity and limits? I believe there are 3 reasons: turf, distrust, and a narrow view of what it means to understand these ideas. Before the 1960s, calculus was a sophomore college course in most places, even for math majors. The freshman year was taken up by the theory of equations and by analytic geometry. But since the 1960s, calculus has been seen as a sign of entry into college-level mathematics, just as first-year algebra is a sign of entry into high school mathematics. This is why we call many students accelerated if they take a full algebra course in 8th grade, and why when students take calculus in high school, they usually do it for advanced placement. But times have changed. As you no doubt know, in some other countries, virtually the entire population studies a significant amount of algebra before 9th grade. In the United States, national assessment data indicates that in 2011, 36% of 8th graders were enrolled in first-year algebra, and 9% had taken that course in a previous year. So they were either in geometry or advanced algebra, for a total of 45% of the tested population. Taking algebra earlier means that more students have taken the prerequisite courses for calculus by the end of 11th grade. This slide from David Brassoud shows that since 2005, more students have been taking calculus in high school than in 2-year and 4-year colleges combined. Advanced placement enrollments have skyrocketed in the last 13 years, increasing from 171,000 students taking the A, B, or BC exams in 2000, you can see that in the slide, to a total of 387,000 students. I'm extending the graph 1 year more. 387,000 students taking those exams in 2013, a 7% increase over 2012. And in general, by the way, the increase has been about 7% for the last 20 years. The biggest surprise in this increase is that the percentage of students obtaining 4s or 5s on the A, B, or BC exams has not decreased at all. Colleges have lost their prominence as the main place that calculus is taught, just as high schools are losing their prominence as the main place for the teaching of elementary algebra. For both calculus and algebra, teachers at the higher level do not trust the teachers at the lower level because they believe that the teachers at the lower level don't know the subject well enough to teach it. I know of no study of teacher knowledge that verifies this. Those writing the Common Core believe that limits are a difficult idea because a rigorous notion of limits was developed only in the 19th century, and infinity is a multifaceted concept that was developed only in the last decade of the 19th century. How can we expect immature students to understand concepts that took mathematicians centuries to put in order? Of course, what they've ignored, what the Common Core people have ignored, is the ability of graphical representations and applications to provide understanding of these concepts. For infinity, students easily understand that there can be infinite decimals, such as the repeating decimal for 1/3, even when they are confused by 0.99999999999. It's not difficult for students to grasp that the graph of the function with equation y = 1 over x, the hyperbola, gets closer and closer to the x-axis as the absolute value of x gets larger and larger. Infinite decimals and graphs with particular end behaviors can serve to motivate the later teaching of more formal approaches. The Common Core has thrown out the baby with the bathwater, and the result is that students entering college may be more poorly prepared for formal calculus than before. And many of them weren't so great before. Issues regarding calculus may affect four-year colleges more than two-year colleges, but they certainly have implications for you. Let me move now to testing. The Common Core document ends with the following statement. It's important to note as well that cut scores or other information generated by assessment systems for college and career readiness, there it is, should be developed in collaboration with representatives from higher education and workforce development programs and should be validated by subsequent performance of students in college and the workforce. So we have a Common Core that asserts that students should be evaluated by both college and career readiness, but does little, if anything, specifically designed for career readiness. No advanced country in the world lumps all students together through 11th grade. But these standards force every student into a curriculum designed for calculus and statistics. I think this occurred because there was not enough of a voice from people like you in the Common Core deliberations. What do I mean by not enough? In 2009, 69 people were listed as being on or associated with the development team for the K-12 math standards. By the way, you can't find this online now, but it was there in 2009. Either as a member of the mathematics work team or as a member of the feedback group. Of the 69 people, 23 were professors at research-based universities, and 20 were employees of state departments of education. But only 2 of the 69 were faculty at two-year colleges, Wade Ellis and Bernadette Sandrick. When we compare these numbers to the enrollments in mathematics at two-year and four-year colleges, we see how great this disparity is. Mathematics below pre-calculus represents less than 20% of the enrollment at four-year colleges, while it is the majority in two-year colleges. Two-year colleges get the students who will not go on to calculus in far, far, far greater numbers than four-year colleges and universities. These data show that it's obvious that two-year college math faculty need to have a greater voice in any next version of K-12 standards than they had in the creation of the Common Core. AMATYC, as an organization, needs to assert with a stronger voice that many technical careers don't require a four-year college degree and don't require completion of a calculus course, but they do require advanced quantitative literacy, some aspects of discrete mathematics, collaborative problem solving, interpretation of complex graphs, and the ability to use available technology to do mathematics, and the ability to check results obtained using that technology, none of which are in the Common Core. Two-year college faculty may be in a better position than any other teachers of mathematics to make these points. Now teaching to the test. Mathematics tests over the Common Core are to be given every year in grades 3 through 8, starting this year in most states, and then in grade 11. There are formative tests to be given during the year and summative tests at the end. No nation of the world, no, I should say no other nation of the world, has such tests every year. In the high-scoring East Asian countries, tests at the end of 6th grade and 12th grade, and sometimes 9th grade, determine what schools students may attend. Some students in these countries may take the 12th grade test in 12th grade and then study another year to take it again in order to get into a better college. But no country has tests every year. You've all heard the complaints about the amount of testing that students now undergo each year. The amounts that are reported are often the days of actual testing, don't include the number of days spent in test prep, that is, in taking practice tests and going over the questions and answers on those tests. Nor do they include the days spent on teacher-made tests and quizzes over the day-to-day lessons and week-to-week units. It's clear that the complaints have been heard. Last month, U.S. Secretary of Education Arne Duncan said testing and test preparation risked, quote, dominating the calendar and culture of schools and causing undue stress for students and educators. President Obama, who's everywhere, it seems, also expressed support for cutting back unnecessary testing. Notice what he's saying. He's for cutting back unnecessary testing. Who can be against cutting unnecessary testing? It's like the appropriate use of technology, which is a phrase in the Common Core. You cannot be against the appropriate use of anything. It means there was a dispute over the use of technology, and how do you get everybody to agree? You use the word appropriate. I'm for the inappropriate use of technology. And I'm for inappropriate things in many other places too, but you know. But I digress. And in many places, these tests have major consequences. So let me return to that quote from before. These cut scores don't begin at 11th or 12th grade. You're not the first people to have cut scores. They are used to hold students back and in some states to delay graduation from 8th or 12th grade. If the tests that are given adhere to the Common Core standards, large numbers of students are going to be held back. I think more than now. In some states, scores of students are being used to judge the quality of the teaching, even though multiple research studies have shown that scores of students from the same teacher vary greatly from year to year. I'm sure you've heard of this. Imagine if your job depends on the scores of your students on an externally made test. Imagine. You're going to teach to the test even if you don't believe in teaching to the test. You will do inappropriate things. Gone are any notions of talking about mathematics, of extending discussions of a concept or problem because you or your students might be interested in it, of playing with a mathematical idea, or of departing from the syllabus because you think something else is important. We're all familiar with the student question, is it going to be on the test? K-12 teachers can take solace, they will never hear that question because everything is on the test. Otherwise, it would not be discussed. But if you're a teacher at the college level, you will be bombarded with this question more than ever before because your students will have seen nothing else. If you discuss something and it's not on the test, your students may turn off their ears even more than they do now. Why do you learn mathematics? They will think not because it might be useful for you in your life or in careers. You learn mathematics in order to score well on a test. If the tests reflected what students know, then we would have some solace that at least we're obtaining accurate information. But the tests are going to underestimate what students know for the following reasons, which may be viewed as unintended consequences of overzealous test preparers and overconfidence in the technology students are using to record their responses. Responses are limited because of computer limitations. Students are being asked to type everything on a computer. And for about half the points on the Common Core tests, they're being asked to explain how they arrived at answers. But the computer does not allow for drawings or for doodling, and you know how long it takes to type out an answer. Since students are being asked to give long answers, there are rubrics to guide how many points are given for various answers. You know, Rubik's Cube. If you do not do a problem in one of the ways detailed on the rubric, you will not get full credit. I found 3 ways to solve one item that was released from the sample test that they're giving this year. Last year they gave some sample tests. And I found one item I could do 3 different ways and not get correctly I could do it 3 different ways and not get a point because I didn't do it following the rubric. I did it in an inappropriate way. Grading assumes that if a student cannot explain how they got an answer, then they don't understand what they're doing. But every teacher has asked a student for an answer to a question, and then asked the same student, how did you get that answer? And the student said, that wasn't the question you asked first. You know, the student raised their hand with the answer, but they didn't, I don't know how I got the, I could have gotten the answer. Now they tell you, they actually use that language. I could have gotten the answer this way. This is particularly true of good students. ESL students don't have the facility with English to enable them to quickly explain in English how they solved a problem, so they already more at risk than most other students are faced with a non-mathematical challenge as well as a mathematical one. And the writing task is difficult and gets in the way of good problem solving. Even the solution to a simple problem can be difficult to write up. Think of what you would need to write up to explain how you do a simple Sudoku problem. Just think of what it would take to write that up. In sum, huge amounts of classroom time are being spent preparing students for the Common Core tests or their equivalent, with relative blindness to the fact that these tests will neither provide an accurate assessment of what students know and can do, and even less of an accurate picture of what they could do in the future with the background they have. One result is that we may have a greater percent of students than now think that mathematics is not for them. A more dangerous result is that because mathematics is such a sorter and students need mathematics credits to graduate high school, we will likely see more dropouts than before. In either case, there are major implications for colleges and especially for 2-year colleges. Finally, let me look at history. Compare 2 eras. You may feel that I'm being a little too strong in my arguments against the Common Core testing, and I can tell you, I'm much more against the testing than against the Common Core. It's the testing that's the killer here. What is wrong with having tests is motivation. What could be more natural and effective than telling students what to learn, teaching them that, and then testing on that stuff? A situation that parallels occurred in the 1970s. In the 1970s, we were coming off of the new math curriculum movement, in which theory was emphasized over both application and, to a lesser extent, skill development. The new math movement was a boon to our profession. There were more mathematics majors than ever before. But the public, and perhaps more significant, elementary school teachers did not understand why the study of sets and other theory was so important, and what all this theory meant for students who were struggling and would never study advanced mathematics. Good students were able to apply the mathematics they learned, so it seemed as if they could transfer the theory to applications, but others could not. The reaction was to go back to basics, by which was meant paper and pencil skills, and to a curriculum in which everything was parsed out in detail through what were called behavioral or performance objectives. To handle the diversity of students, individualized instruction became a mantra, and programmed learning was touted as a way to reach them. though program learning never did become too popular. Times change, and we do learn from the past. The Common Core curriculum is not a narrow one. It involves skill, theory, and application, and is reasonably heavy on representations such as the number line and graphing. The Common Core does not assume that being able to apply mathematics comes automatically from mathematical skills. But the instructional techniques that are being seen are quite parallel. Teachers in many places, so many places, are being asked to display the number of a Common Core standard for each lesson. Publishers are being forced to display standard numbers in their materials in order for their materials to be adopted. Interventions for struggling students are much like programmed learning, just done on computer rather than with paper textbooks. The teacher becomes a monitor rather than an explicator. The result in the 1970s was the lowest performance on the SATs than we've ever measured, reaching its bottom around 1981. By 2005, we were at record levels of performance given the population taking the test. That is, if you want to compare with before 1960, only really top-notch students took the SAT. And by 2005, you have just huge numbers. It's about the same from 1980 to 2005. It was accomplished by teaching some mathematics at earlier grades in our elementary and middle schools, and by high school students taking more math than ever. It's difficult to compare SAT scores after 2005 because the SAT introduced a third test, and fatigue alone can depress scores. Other indicators, by the way, it's also interesting to compare this with the verbal, that's the brown graph, the bottom graph. The verbal has been constant for the last 30 years, but the math has gone up. Should tell us we're doing a good job. Other indicators have shown a steady rise in student performance at all levels since the broadening and strengthening of the K-12 curriculum by the NCTM standards of 1989. But I fear that we may be in for a period of decline, precipitated by a vast number of students who cannot keep up with the Common Core standards. It's clear, and now I come to my coda, the final aria of the Opry. It's clear that the Common Core will help some students and not others. The phrase cleaning up can apply to those who are helped and those who are not. One possibility is that the Common Core will put students on the bases, and colleges will be the cleanup hitters and drive in lots of runs that were not there before. Cleaning up, clean up the bases. The other possibility, the Common Core will leave a mess greater than was there before for colleges to clean up. I hope I've at least put a couple of ideas on the bases for you to pick off or drive home. Or if you prefer the Music City metaphor, some themes for you to hum or to discard. The fat lady has sung, the Opry is over. Thanks again for inviting me to share some thoughts with you today.
I would like to present the Certificate of Appreciation to Val for being our opening session speaker. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let me just leave that there. I'm not grab a little picture. Okay. I think you have to unplug. We're back to where we need to be.
Otherwise, it's always left, you know.
I have a few announcements. The foundation campaign. The AMATYC and the AMATYC Foundation are excited to have another foundation campaign at this conference. The foundation supports projects and activities of AMATYC members in areas such as project access, developmental math, research, and is exploring new initiatives to provide funds to affiliate organizations, students, and other grants yet to come. We thank you for your generosity in the past and during this year, and look forward to your contributions. Every contribution is appreciated. Check your registration packet for details on this year's fundraiser. The exhibit hall opens immediately after this session. Be sure to stop by the Parade of Affiliates located in the exhibit hall between now and Saturday to see what our affiliate organizations are doing. The forums tonight will be discussing the proposed AMATYC bylaws revision that will be placed before the Delegate Assembly on Saturday. The final input sessions for 2 proposed position statements, the appropriate use of intermediate algebra as a prerequisite course, and the academic preparation of 2-year college mathematics faculty, and an initial input session for the position statement on time limits for course prerequisites. The regional luncheons will be held at noon on Friday. A ticket is required for lunch. The Faculty Math League will meet from 3:10 to 4 o'clock on Friday. And you're also invited to AMATYC's committee meetings, which would be held from 3:10 to 4 o'clock on Friday. Our 40th anniversary celebration will be held from 8 until 9:30 on Friday, with anniversary cake being served before the musical begins. Stop by our hospitality room and or the impromptu room in Belmont C, and check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Have a great conference.